Say for example you are a politician and you want to defend the rights of people with a weak bladder. And say you happen to be operating in a political climate where public toilets are a huge taboo. In this case, there ought to be a disconnect between your agenda and your manifesto, i.e. your vision for an ideal society. A point on your agenda could, for example, be the legalization of pissing in the canals. But in your manifesto, that is, when you are speaking to the public about your vision, you could suggest a more radical solution, that of the government using the people's hard-earned tax money to spend it on public toilets. But that would not be part of your agenda. You should not be actively trying to pass such a law. And not only should you not try to pass such a law, you should also make it clear to your voters that you can't do that. This is because as a politician you have to be aware of your political climate. If a controversial law manages to get a very slight majority, it's in most countries technically lawful for that law to be passed. But it is very dishonorable and it creates division in society. And the politician who is responsible will most certainly get hated for it. And if you are responsible for a controversial law multiple times, pretty much your whole ass country will now hate you from several directions, which can be described as a big oof. So what a good politician does instead is find compromises. And an example of a compromise could be that you legalize pissing in the canal. But you can advocate for a better solution. You can try to convince people that what we really need is public toilets, all while acknowledging that passing such a law presently would go against the spirit of democracy. And you would not pass such a law even if you could. Personally, that is what I see as good, a politician who has vision, but who simultaneously understands that we need bridges and that a vision that is too progressive can destroy those bridges and poison any form of goodwill that you and your movement might be able to earn from your current opponents. Because if you royally piss off the conservatives, you can give yourself an imaginary award for your boldness, but you've also made it harder for yourself to convince more people. In other words, you have pissed your political pants. I don't necessarily see it as good if a politician is ahead of their time. If you are ahead of your time, then you need to understand that you need to take a few steps back, so as to be of value in this time, the time that you are supposedly ahead of. At no point in history has a revolution worked. On the contrary, the worst examples of bloodshed are because of a revolution. No matter how beautiful your ideals, you cannot risk a civil war over it, not even a cold one. There can never be an us versus them, never a winner and a loser. We must live in a society where we can live with one another, and where there's an us versus them, you don't even have a society anymore. So a politician must always look for solutions, compromises, that not a small but an overwhelming majority can get behind. And no, that is not ideal. But when society makes progress, it's always in little steps. Democracy as we know it now, and you know this, also didn't come overnight. Hell, the US, for example, doesn't even have a proper democracy yet. But what they have is only a lead-up to what we would recognize as a democracy in Europe. And hopefully when we get near the end of the century, the US will be where Europe is now, because that's how slow society moves over there. And now you can lament this, you can cry out in agony, you can cry out that your utopia is unfeasible, but you must understand that this is how human society works, unfortunately. Society only moves forwards in sloppy and unsatisfying compromises. And revolutions only create misery. And I say that not because I don't care enough about societal progress. I would also like to see a world that is much different from the one that we live in. But I understand that sometimes when there's something that you wish for, being sad is all you can do.